What's up, beautiful people? Happy New Year. Greetings. I know this is a drastically different video than what you're accustomed to seeing, but just bear with me because with the new, we must embrace the new. We must make room for the new. So as you can see, I am outside in 20-degree weather, mind you, 20-degree weather in January, and I was actually inspired by the sudden change in my environment, and I felt the Holy Spirit had a message in that change. So I'm outside for a purpose. It's 20 degrees, there's snow, at least 6 to 8 inches on the ground where I live. And this is the first snowfall that we've had in probably 5 years. And I was thinking, Lord, there has to be a message in this sudden change in the weather, in the environment. And the Holy Spirit started to speak and said, our programming is regional. Our programming is tied to our environment. What does that mean? It means that we are literally conditioned. We are brought up, we are raised, we are groomed, okay? We are taught things based on the environment in which we thrive, okay? Take someone from Alaska or from an area or like Antarctica where it's permanently cold, permafrost and a cold environment, and everything that person has ever learned, has ever known, has ever experienced is largely impacted by their environment, is largely dictated by their environment. The way that we dress, the foods that we eat, the time of day that we go out. Come on, Holy Spirit. These are all things that are impacted by the environment. And so if you were to take that person who is accustomed to sub-degree temperatures, sub-zero temperatures, and put them into a tropical paradise, they would have a hell of a time adjusting, okay? They would have a really difficult time adjusting to that new area, to that new climate, that region, the foods of that region, okay? The activities, the hobbies even of that region, everything really is dictated by their environment, okay? And I know that there is a spiritual message to that as well. You change the environment, your identity just shifted. You change the environment that you are submerged in, okay? You change the environment that you are accustomed to, you change what you are surrounded by, and your entire identity shifts. It causes, it almost necessitates, okay, a change in your identity and in your entire way of life, okay? Come on, Holy Spirit. It changes the way that you think, the activities that you do, the foods that you eat, how you carry yourself, okay? I'm trying not to give away where I live or film anyone else's home, but I really want you all to see that my entire wardrobe had to change because of how cold it was this past week. My entire schedule, all the plans I had were affected by how cold, icy, and windy it was. I'm wearing this hat. It's largely ornamental. This is not a functional winter hat, okay? You can probably see the breath in the video, okay? The breath, coming from my mouth, but it's really just, dramatized to show you that because I am in an environment where I am not accustomed to, everything that was required of me to thrive had to shift. And that is exactly what God is doing with some of us in this season, okay? In this time, he's been doing it for a minute. He's shifted some of you all's identity has shifted before your environment has changed. God has catapulted you spiritually to an environment where you do not dwell in physically right now. God has taken you to a new place mentally, and your physical environment is just catching up. Okay, he's showing you, I'm taking you to a new level, to another place, to a new environment, but I need you to go with me as quickly as the seasons change, as you hear the wind rustling behind me, okay? God is getting ready to shift some of you, to move some of you, to catapult some of you, and it's going to take you by surprise. Like this snowstorm took us by surprise here. I live in the Northeast, not the DMV anymore. I live in the greater Baltimore area, greater DMV, Baltimore, tri-state area, okay? And God is saying that even though you're not accustomed to this weather, accustomed to this time of year, accustomed to, the snow that's been because of global warming and so many other factors why we haven't had snow in this region, that I can shift your environment overnight, that I can cause a snowstorm overnight that can, shift you into a completely new way of thinking, that can shift you into a new way of being, okay? And so I want you to understand that whether you are spiritually or physically in a new environment, your identity has to shift. You have to shift with the change, okay? In the same analogy that we spoke about and that I spoke about with the, taking someone from a cold climate to a warm climate, God is taking some of you all from one way of life into another as quickly, as overnight, as suddenly, as swiftly as an overnight snowstorm or as an overnight, plane ride into the tropical paradise. And your identity is going to have to shift as quickly as your environment changes. And some of you all, God's been trying to ripen your mental environment, ripen or sharpen your spiritual acuity to be able to handle what's coming with the physical change of the snow or wherever God is taking you. It's not just about the physical environment. This physical environment could change in an instant. The weather starts to warm up and the snow goes away, honey. But God is saying, I want you to shift with how quickly the weather can shift with me, okay? He wants your spirit to shift as quickly as things can shift externally to our physical eyes. He wants your internal environment, your inner being to shift as quickly. And I'll give you all a quick anecdote and I'll let you go because your girl is freezing, okay? So when I was a couple years ago, 4 years ago at this point, 4 or 5 years ago, I lived overseas in 2019. I lived overseas in Central America. My environment shifted overnight, okay? I went from, temperate climate area, way of life, way of being here in the States, and I went to a tropical paradise in Central America, and I lived on a farm for a year, and it did not hit me that my environment, both external and internal, had shifted as quickly as it shifted on the plane ride, okay? I did not realize that my life had changed, that God had literally transported me from one way of life to another just by putting me on a plane, okay? He put me on a plane. He prepared me for a season, but then the shift happened so radically, so quickly, so swiftly that my body, my mind was still catching up to my new environment, okay? And God is saying, I'm going to use that day to night to day, opposite sort of environment or way of life for you to shock you into the new that I'm bringing you into. But will you journey with him? Will you go with God? Will you prepare when he's preparing you in this season? Will you detox from your current environment so that you can handle and make room for the new? So that you can handle the new environment when it comes through? Because honey, it's coming whether you're ready or not. We were not ready for this snow and it came, we weren't ready for inches of snow after having no snow for years, and it came whether we were ready or not, and we had to shift forward with it. So God has given you all so much time. He's giving you all so much leeway and patience and grace to prepare while he has you in this current environment, because wherever he's taking you, it's going to look radically different than where you are right now. And it may not be an overnight shift, but it probably is. The way you'll experience it will feel like it's overnight, will feel like it's all of a sudden, when God has literally been talking to you about it for months, weeks, years, that he's getting ready to shift you, to move you into the new, into all that he has for you. And it's going to look drastically, radically different than whatever you've been accustomed to in your current environment, okay? So the biggest thing I want you all to take away is that you change the environment and your identity simply must shift. Yeah, I'm going to turn toward the sun because I might get an ounce of warmth, okay? Still want y'all to catch these snowy vibes though. You change the environment, your identity has to shift, okay? Internally as well as externally. Your entire way of life will shift, and it will be for your good. It really will. Wherever God is taking you, he needs that new you to show up in that new place, so that you can continue to shine as the new bright light that you are for the kingdom. Okay, so everything has a purpose. Wherever God is taking you has a purpose. He has a place for you, and that place has a purpose, and it's part of your purpose path, and it has provision. But if you're not willing to shift, you will get left behind. You'll be caught up in the snowstorm. You'll be, stuck in the snow. I don't know, honey. Take this analogy and run with it back to your Father. But for now, I want you all to hear what God is saying, that your environment is shifting, okay? Now is the time. Now is your time to shift. As quickly as the weather changes, life is changing spiritually, physically for many of you. The moves that are coming in this year, the manifestations that are appearing in this year. You've got to learn how to move with it, my dear, because it's coming. The snow came, okay? The snow came, the winds are here, the weather manifested, whether we were ready or not. And I really want you all to be ready for when your shift comes, for when your suddenly appears, for when your manifestation is no longer on the way, that it's here, okay? So I pray that you all receive this word. I pray that the Holy Spirit was ministering to you through this word. And please pray for your girl to warm up, because we're done. Like 10 minutes out in the cold, 20-degree weather, that's a wrap, okay? So I pray that you all will take this word back to your Father, and I will see you all on the other side of your shift.